Hello everyone! Hello! Welcome back to one of these workshops. My name is Savvy and today I hope to teach you some methods, exercise and just theory overall about how voice functions and how we can use it and modify it to our liking, whether that is to make it sound more feminine or to make it sound a lot more masculine. The choice is yours and the tools are yours as well, as long as you follow along and listen to this little lecture of mine. So first of all, I do have to make something clear. Something is really important when it comes to voice, and that is vocal hygiene and vocal health. So when you practice using your voice, be sure to always hydrate 10 to 15 minutes before any voice work. That is because when you use your voice, you're setting a vibration in your vocal folds, which we call vocal cords as well in a more popular term, and they will close open sometimes a few hundreds of times per second. So that's a lot of motion for such a fragile little thing, and so it needs to be hydrated so that it can perform properly. And, dry vocal folds will end up sustaining fatigue and dryness, and that will end up causing damage. If you don't want to damage your voice, please make sure to drink water. Talking about water, I talk water and hydration. Hydration, certain substances you can take, such as spironolactone or coffee or antihistamines, certain medications and certain substances are responsible for dehydrating your body to a certain extent. Not completely, but a little bit. So just be mindful that if you do use spironolactone or use antihistamines, some of those side effects can be the dehydration, or at least to a certain level of your body and thus also of your voice. So you want to be sure that if you have to take those substances or those medications, to always try to work around them. If you drink a coffee is known to dehydrate the voice. Don't do your voice work right in the same time frame of you taking and drinking that coffee. Maybe try to practice 1 hour after or 1 hour before. The choice is yours. Of course, at the end of the day, body autonomy reigns supreme, and you probably have reasons to take the medications you take. For example, I am heavily allergic and have really high hay fever, so antihistamines are a must for me. I still am able to use my voice despite that. So if I can do it, so can you. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about what voice is and how it functions. So very simply, I like to use the power source filter model as a very simple reference to explain how voice functions. Very simply put, we have lungs which are filled with air, and that air is used to set those vocal folds in motion. Quite literally, the air will come from below and create a vibration from bottom to top, and that vibration will then create what we call a source sound. That source sound will be heard in terms of texture, in terms of pitch, in terms of vocal fold mass. Now, details aside, once the sound is produced via that vibration, the sound will then reverberate in this space, which we call the filter. The space here is actually referring to the vocal tract. It's a term used to design. No, that's not the right word. Excuse me, my French is coming over again. The resonant chamber here is the vocal tract, and so the sound can bounce around in this. And if you have a really small space, you're gonna have a much brighter voice, such as this one. But if your space is really big, then you're gonna eventually reverberate the lower frequencies of the voice. I'm not even sure if people can understand me when I speak like that, but basically this will be the biggest change when it comes to gender perception of the voice, because it directly tells people, hey, that's how big my vocal tract is. So the bigger, the more likely it is to sound dark, thus more masculine leaning, and the smaller it is, the more likely it is to sound feminine and much brighter. Okay, that's very simple. I use air. It sets vocal folds in motion. That sound bounces around in a small space or a big space. And that's really all that voice comes down to. Power source filter, air, vibration, and resonance, or brightness. Now let's talk a little bit more into detail as to why or what we're trying to achieve here. I'm not here to teach you social expectations of voice. I'm not here to push your voice into Valley Girl voice territory. Oh my gosh. I'm not here to push your voice in a certain category. voice is fluent, and there is many different fem voices. You can have higher pitched fem voices, you can have like more medium range fem voices, you can have lower fem voices. Really, the choice is yours. So what I try to teach here is specifically the reverse engineering of testosterone and its effects on the vocal tract. More simply put, before puberty hits, your vocal tract looks like this. It's generally smaller, but when testosterone hits, three things will happen. The vocal tract will become a lot bigger because the Adam's apple, the larynx, is going to drop. So that creates a much darker voice. Now, the second thing that happens is that your vocal folds, which vibrate really fast at higher pitches, start to vibrate at much lower pitches. And now I'm already halfway through as, how puberty affects my voice. But then the third thing that happens is I'm going to have more muscle growth all across my body. That's testosterone, but it also applies to the vocal folds. And so with more vocal fold mass, now I'm vibrating with a lot more mass, and so I sound a lot more buzzy, more full, right? And this is how you achieve a fully masculine voice. Retro or reverse engineer that back to a femme voice. And that's what I want to teach you today. You can achieve this. All right, that's what I'm going to teach. So basically, testosterone affects your voice, and we try to either mimic testosterone effects if you don't have as much testosterone as, AMAB people. And even then, it's not exactly certain. You might be AMAB and have very little testosterone exposure, and you might be AFAB and have a lot of testosterone exposure. Hormones is a mess, and it's not just based on chromosomes and biology. So, it is based on biology, but you know what I mean. Okay. Anyways, that's what we want to take care of. We want to modify the size of the vocal tract, big for masculine, small for feminine. We want to modify the pitch, generally higher pitches for femme voices,
and lower pitches for masc voices.
We want to have thinner, softer voices or thinner vocal folds to achieve softer sounds, much more feminine leaning. And we want
to have much thicker vocal folds, much more effective mass engaged in the process of vibration
to achieve a more masculine voice. These are the main things that we are going to use as perception landmarks for our voice, so we know in which direction we go. Okay. Now, with that all said, we're going to do something about vocal hygiene. More specifically, we're going to do some vocal warm-up. This is very important. If you keep your voice hydrated, that's good, but that's only half of the problem. The other half of the problem, thank you, alarm, is going to be to warm that up. Remember, I said that the vocal folds can have more vocal fold mass, that they can have muscle growth. And that's true to a certain extent due to testosterone exposure. And I suppose if you do heavy or harsh vocals, you probably can achieve some increased vocal fold mass. Although I don't have scientific proof of that, maybe some papers could go in that direction. But it's a muscle. It's partially muscle. And so as any muscle, we want to warm it up. Not only, to get it warmed up and ready for training, that goes without saying, but also because when you drink water, it doesn't directly hydrate the vocal folds, right? The water goes in your stomach, not in your lungs. And the vocal folds are in the windpipe. So if you drink water, it's not going to touch the vocal folds. Please don't try to hydrate your voice by breathing in water, okay? That didn't work. I tried. No, I didn't. You don't want to know. It was dark times back then when we learned how to do voice. Okay, so don't hydrate by breathing in water. Not good. Do not recommend. So thankfully, warming up your voice will provide that necessary water and those nutrients through the blood flow. And, when you vibrate the vocal folds very gently on some warming up sounds, we can achieve that warm up process. So enough theory about that. What I want to do is you can unmute your mics, and I'm going to do one of those warm-ups, and I want you to mimic after me. I'm going to count through 3, and when I'm done counting, I want you to do it with me. I go first with an example. Ooh. And you try this in 3, 2, 1. Ooh. And back down. No. Very good. Let's try a different sound. A sound like Z in the word zoo. I go first. And you go in 3, 2, 1. Back down. Very good. Woo! All right, that's some warm up. Of course, you're encouraged to do this, as much as you want until your voice feels better and ready to start with practice. All right. With that said and done, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the practice. For those who are unfamiliar with this format, what I generally do is I get up on stage 2 people who want to masculinize their voices and 2 people who want to feminize their voices. So if you want to cannot speak today. If you want to participate, you can either raise your hand, jump in place, or use the hand emoji, which I don't know how to do. But yes, that is how you can get my attention and get up on stage. I'm going to start with voice masculinization. Preferably someone who has not been on stage before. I see people hiding. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Don't be scared. Okay. Well, I guess maybe someone who has already been on stage then. No one interested in voice masculinization? Oh yes. Termly Evie, come up on stage. Come on, come on, come on. Everyone, give a big round of applause to Termly Evie. All right. Hello, Evie.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Let's get started. I'm setting up the timer. Technology is not working with me today. All right, timer is set up. Let's go. All right. Hi there. I know you've already been on stage before. I'd recognize the name. Not the avatar, though, but the name I do recognize. All right. So, how about you let me know a little bit about your whereabouts with voice work, how far you've come, if you've made any progress, or if you feel like you've kind of need like a little bit of a tip or a direction to go in.
So I think I've made a bit of progress with being able to talk consistently at a lower pitch.
Yep.
But I do notice that I'm still constantly shooting back up into that feminine range. Especially when I'm like caught off guard or something's funny and I'm like laughing and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really funny. It automatically goes back up to where it usually is. And I think that's what I'm struggling with the most.
You're struggling with the habitualization, the ability to like keep it down there and not have it shoot back up, just to like have to redo the whole process, right?
Yeah. Like it's not low by any means. I think it still is in that feminine range, but it's a lot lower than what I normally speak. Like normally I speak more up here, but I'm able to get it down a little more.
Okay, that's very good. When it comes to normalization and making that behavior really stick in day-to-day life, well, first of all, like things like laughing, you're kind of expected to laugh at higher pitches. I mean, when's the last time you've heard like a guy laugh really low in pitch? Like
if I have like a really masked voice like that, do you think I'm going to laugh like?
That just sounds like evil villain character, you know?
Like
No, probably not gonna cut it.
Even if I have like a masked voice, I might laugh like.
You know, but like maybe that's because I'm too, I'm maybe like too NB and I don't even know what gender is anymore. But to a certain extent, yeah, just like for yelling, you're gonna want to shoot for those higher pitches, like kind of normally. You know, they're part of the voice. We tend to not be like in one strict range. We sometimes use higher pitches when we are more excited, you know, like for example, I speak here when I'm just normally speaking. And if I'm more excited, I might like be talking more like up here and like, this is really important. I want to talk about that, you know, like hyperfixation thing. You want to talk about your current brain rot, etc. So you get the idea, you get the gist. Now, let's see how far we can get your voice down and how dark and big of a vocal tract we can achieve. First off, I want you to give me a gentle slide from your highest pitch down to your lowest comfortable pitch. Give it a try.
Oh, about here.
Okay, so that's actually A3. It's actually higher than what you're talking with. So that is not like a fail-proof way to like determine how low you can go. That's okay, because like right now you said like, oh, well you did. Oh, and you stopped on A3. You did make your vocal tract bigger though, so that was good. But when you speak with maybe a brighter, smaller size, like you tend to speak more like G3, so actually below A3. So we'd have to kind of like go a little bit lower and try to achieve those lower pitches by experimenting. I want you to mimic after me. All right, let's do like a call and response kind of mimicry thing. Let's try this. Oh,
Oh,
oh.
oh,
Very good. Oh, oh,
oh.
oh. Already we're at G sharp 3, so we're already below the A3 you did as your lowest, quote unquote. Let's keep going. Oh,
Oh.
all right. Oh, now we're in an F sharp 3, C, much lower. Oh, at least like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 semitones of difference in terms of pitch, right? So you're able to go lower. Although I'm starting to feel, or hear rather, how your voice starts to get a little bit more, not strained, but more unstable. Oh, so here we might want to bring in a bit more darkness in the voice. So let's try this. Can you say, pat that cat on a bright whisper? Pat that cat.
Oh, it's not picking up. I need to. hang on.
Oh, whoops. Yes.
There we go.
Okay, let's try this again. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Let's make that pat darker. Pat.
Pot, 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 dot, cut.
Pat, 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 that cat.
Very good. Remember the feeling of your Adam's apple going down, of your larynx moving down. You can always track it with your hand if you feel the need to. You can sometimes just track it just by knowing without using your hands. Very good. And now we're going to bridge back into that low pitch you gave me, which was F sharp 3. Da, F sharp 3. So we're going to do
Pot that cat. Pot that cat.
give it a try.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you do that again?
Step 1, dark pat. Pat,
Pot, pot, pot.
Pat, 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 pat.
Now we close the vocal folds again.
Pot that cat.
Oh, pat that cat.
Very good.
Pot that cat.
Although we went back up to A3. And now from here, can you keep that quality? Can you like keep talking like that? Like we're yawning. Oh,
Pot that cat.
Pat, pat that cat. No, it went right back.
Wow, it's moving around. It's like that tube meme, like, hello, you know? Similar things can happen with the voice. Okay. Pa, 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 pa. Okay, let's try to go this. Let's go back to dark. Pa, pa, pa. Yes, that's beautiful. Okay, phone. It's shooting back up at the end.
I noticed that, yeah.
Very good. Noticing is the first step of improving. Let's try to get some sentences. Has it loaded for you?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's try this. You mean
Yeah, really dark.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You know. Yeah, that mad brats.
The mad brat sat on that flat mat.
beautiful? And now we take that lower.
Da da, that mad brat.
Da da da, that mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Beautiful. That mad brat.
That mad brat. It went back
Da,
up.
da, da. It went brighter, but you went lower in pitch. That's so interesting. Usually when people go for lower pitches, they tend to, let the larynx drop a bit to kind of like make the production of lower pitches easier. Okay, interesting. I think it's maybe because you're like focusing on two things at once. You're like juggling with you're juggling with like resonance, vocal tract size, and with pitch at the same time. You're like, okay, I'm focusing on pitch, da 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 da, and then you bring your
Right.
resonance back up. So yeah, it's a balancing act. Some practice to be done, but you were able to go down to F sharp 3, which is much lower than the A3 we had at the start, so that was really good. I think we got like a really good result with like that mad breath, like getting you to start with like that kind of operatic tone, like like how opera singers would sing. It sets you like at a high pitch, yes, what you would use in a femme voice, but it sets you with a really big size. That's always a good thing to start with. And you already noticed that your resonance shoots back up when you go lower in pitch, so you just want to be careful with that.
I can feel it like go back up, and I'm like, whoops.
Yeah. Whoops. Okay, it literally just like takes a little bit of focus on your voice. Here it's a lot. You're listening to me, you're reading words, you're listening to pitch, you're listening to how big your vocal tract is, and you're feeling it go up or down. So there's a lot of stimuli in the way. So yeah, it's a matter of practice and kind of like making things that are at first a bit complicated become more natural and more second nature. That's generally how you progress a voice. You do have to expose yourself repeatedly to these exercises and to these things to make them like a part of yourself rather than like a far away exercise. That doesn't make a lot of sense. All right. Very good. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to try that one more? Yeah, that mad brat. Yeah.
That mad brat sat on the flat mat.
That man, right? Yeah, it's like stoner guy kind of vibe, that man, right? Yeah, puff, pass. Okay, no, we don't talk about those on stage. Okay, anyways, very good job, Termly Evie. You did great. Everyone, give a big round of applause to Evie. Woo!
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, where am I in real life? Oh God. Next up on stage, I want someone who wants to learn about voice feminization. If you're interested, raise your hand, jump in place. You're the first one to jump. Spectral Sapphic. Please get up on stage. Right way, left way, whichever you prefer. Everyone give a big round of applause to Spectral Sapphic. Okay. Hello there. Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. No, you. Well, I'm supposed to say welcome. Welcome up on stage. Hello?
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, do you hear me fine?
I hear you perfectly fine. I was about to ask if you could hear me.
Oh, I hear you just fine. It's just because you said welcome,
Wonderful.
so you kind of like threw me off.
Force of habit. Usually I'm the one hosting something.
Really? I did not know. I'm sorry. Okay. Um, welcome up on stage. You have a host kind of voice, like, welcome to this podcast. I am Spectral Sapphic. Okay, anyways. I already hear quite a bit in your voice. Very interesting stuff. Let's get started. Timer is set up. All right, Spectral Sapphic. How about you tell me first, how do I call you? Spectral, Sapphic? Which one do you prefer going by?
Whatever name pleases you the most, I do not prefer any particular one.
All right, then it will be Spectral for short. Short for short, excuse my accent. So, what do you come up here for? And what's your experience with voice training? I already hear quite a lot happening with your voice towards feminization, that is. So, how about you let me know a little bit about your experience with voice, how you're connected to it, what you know of theory about it? Tell me everything.
I mean, it's quite short. I have mostly experienced the usual try and effort of starting voice feminization with YouTube tutorials. I have already used most of the basic ones. I have, however, struggled to improve beyond a certain point because while I have learned plenty of warm-up routines, it is quite hard to proceed to implement different efforts at once. I struggle with finding a set of voice that helps me to both focus on dialogue rather than my own voice, aka having to subconsciously being able to feminize my voice, but also being able to take care of not jumping high in pitch without taking, I call it voice weight, I don't know if that's the correct term, but
It's
jumping up in pitch
vocal
without
weight, yes.
accommodating the rest, so I just sound like a boy using autotune.
Oh no, a boy
And
using autotune. Oh no,
absolutely.
you don't
And the
sound like
third
that, don't
thing
worry.
I struggle with is endurance, because I started to use voice training itself as my premier way of using my voice, rather than actually having dialogue with it, because I have such a strong disconnect between using my fem voice and being able to talk out of my mouth like I usually do.
Interesting. Okay. There's a lot of things that I heard in your voice. Uh, okay. So, yeah, breaching the gap between training on your own and using it in a dialogue can be difficult. For the longest time, I was like, all right, voice training session number 1. Hello, my name is Savvy. I was not sounding that good, trust me. And then I went into the wild and was like,
Yeah, sup, Drude? Yeah, what's up, bro?
because I wasn't out and whatnot. So if I know some of us are still at that point and sometimes have to be for reasons that are their own. And so it can be hard to have that disconnect just to normalize the behavior or, use it in a dialogue, in a, normal conversation. So a few things I heard in your voice. I would say it started really femme, and along the way it kind of went a bit darker and a bit thicker. You talked yourself about vocal weight or vocal mass. We generally refer to this as vocal fold mass or vocal fold effective mass because you're not really creating mass from nowhere. We're not black holes or, white holes that produce matter from nowhere, if they exist, right? But we rather clench the muscles of the voice more or we relax them more, hence the effective mass. But just saying mass or weight will still, refer to the same perceptual value, which is if you have a lot of mass, you're really buzzy. If you have very little mass, you're really soft. I would say in the case of your voice, it's a bit of a mixed bag. At higher pitches, I hear more softness. At lower pitches, I hear maybe a more masculine sound taking over. Perhaps, the lower you go in pitch, the more you're getting closer to what your masc voice sounded like. And so that vocal fold mask can come back into play, So a few things here I would work on here is definitely make sure that the weight stays generally on a softer side with less mass involved in the process. And we'll maybe look a little bit about rather, we'll look a little bit at your intonation, because when people are accused, quote unquote, or called autotune users, generally they refer to pitch. So like, for example, if I do this, I'm tapping my neck. Don't do this, I'm a professional. Hello, I am a machine. It sounds like autotune because the pitch cutoff is really sudden and prompt. Technically, you could also cut the pitch like this without tapping your throat at all. It would be less precise, but it still would give that autotune or AI kind of quality to the voice. That is generally because we don't know what to do with our voice. If you take a look at the board here, I can read, that mad brat sat on that flat mat. Da da da, da da da, da. I say things with purpose. First group, that mad brat, the actor, action, sat on that flat mat, the object in relation to the action, right? So I will emphasize on that mad brat, on sat, and on that flat mat. And giving meaning through melody, through intonation, is what, you know, helps us also get away from that like machine-like or that autotune-like sound. So I want to try this with you on some just more normal sentences. All right. Has the slide loaded for you, Spectral?
Yes, it has.
All right, perfect. Beautiful. Yes, it is. See, like here, I don't have any issue with your voice because like da da da, like you're trying at a higher pitch. It doesn't really show, like, for example, yes, it is. You know, like perhaps if you go lower in pitch, that might go darker or heavier. We'll talk about that. How about you just read that first sentence for me, how you normally would, with your femme voice, of course.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Beautiful. Hello, good morning. How are you? Ah, where did it stop? At the end of the sentence. Hello, good morning. Nothing to say. How are? Very good. You. Going down like that. You. You go down both in pitch, so the vocal folds vibrate slower. That's to be expected because you're finishing a sentence. How are you? Right? So you want to go down, but you also let your vocal tract get bigger. Is the concept of vocal tract size or resonance familiar to you?
Correct?
Sorry?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So if that is familiar to you, then you might have realized how are you? Like it gets bigger. You could also have done the same pitch motion. How are you? But still stay really bright, even on that lower pitch, and still stay in that fairly feminine area. Trying to try that again. How are you? Like make your voice go soft, but still very bright. Give it a
How
try.
are you?
Very good. It's happened less now. You. But you are going down to ooh, to C3. That's the bottom of the third octave. Generally, most femme voices don't achieve that kind of pitch just because it's hard to do when you don't have any exposure to testosterone in most femme voices. Of course, you can talk at C3 like this with a femme voice, but it's generally not the norm, and it's generally heard in more mature voices or in more like voice-acted voices. So you could try maybe to bring the pitch a little bit higher at the end. Instead of, how are you? You could go, how are you? Try it out.
How are you?
Beautiful. How are you? The whole sentence again, please.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Beautiful. Awesome. How about you give me the next sentence?
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Careful here. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. So it's real interesting because it's not like you lose the entire quality of your voice. It's more so like certain areas of your voice tend to sound more masculine because of that darkness in the middle. Why did it happen? I'll have a cup of coffee, please. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. Right? So, toda. coffee, right? So the size gets bigger as you bring your pitch lower. So the main takeaway for you would be to be careful with lower pitches. There's two ways to work at this. Either you avoid those lower pitches altogether. For example, instead of, I'll have a cup of coffee, please. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. Saying hi all the time, right? Give it a try. I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Oh, careful here. I'll have a cup of coffee, please, please, please. Try to make please a bit brighter. Please.
Please.
Okay, let's try this. Give me please on a whisper, like,
Please.
okay, your please is already bright. Now you can try to make it even brighter.
Please. Please.
Please, please. And really brighten that E sound. Yes. And then bridge. Yes, that's even brighter. And then please.
Please.
Very good. I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Okay, that's much better. Very good. You started this with like, I'll have a cup of I'll have a cup of coffee, please, with a bigger, darker sound. So here we notice that I'll have a cup of coffee, please. The pitch is E, it's A3. It's generally middle to high range for fem voices. And so, please, that pitch here, should have been bright, but here it was darker. So perhaps the issue you have stems more from like the use of, a different vowel sound. Perhaps the E sound is generally darker and you might want to like practice the E sound in particular. For example, here on the board I have a few sentences. Has it loaded for you? Yes, it probably has. Do you see the sentence? She sees the serene sea feeling free.
She sees the serene sea feeling free. Oh gosh.
Very good. See, so it's generally darker. For example, if you read that mad rat sat on that flat mat, try it out.
That mad rat sat on that flat mat.
See, so that mad rat sat on that flat mat. It's got a little bit darker at the end, but in the case of she sees the serene sea feeling free, it sounded like a little bit darker than like she sees the serene sea feeling free. So there is definitely a focus for you to have on brightening the E sound. Methods to do this, you're probably familiar with whisper sirens or with whisper exercises like we do them here. I use pat that cat for the A sound. But as you may know, there's different vowel sounds. In this case, the E is problematic to you. So you can try to take, for example, the word see. You start really dark, big size,
See.
and then you try to step up brighter.
See.
To a really bright E sound. To habitualize yourself to use that smaller space and still phonate through it, produce a voice through it. Take a look, or rather, take a close listen. If I translate a really big size to a full voice, this is what I get.
See.
She sees the serene sea. The pitch is high, but the sound is really dark and big. Now, I try this brighter.
See.
See, 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 see. She sees the serene sea feeling free. And just like that, I fixed my issue with the E sound. It takes a bit of practice and trial and error. So 2 things for you to watch out for. Try to brighten the E sounds. Sometimes they happen in other sounds, like in the U. When you say U, there is an E at the start. E, U, U, right? It's a diphthong. One vowel sound into another, close by. So practice the E sound, make it brighter with those exercises. Try using sentences that have a lot of E sounds to make it a bit more consistent. And beware of your intonation. Know that lower pitches, as in the example of I'll have a cup of coffee, please, right? Da 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 da, right? As you went down to that low pitch, that was I'll have a cup of well, actually, we're a bit lower than me. I'll have a cup of like C3. Generally pitches around E3, D3, and C3, in the case of a fem voice, tend to be a bit harder to feminize for different reasons. First one is because you and I suppose you have like a masc voice you started with, maybe
Not as like masc as this one, right? But
somewhere in that area. And so you know that you had years of experience using a masc voice, and those lower pitches, they make sense to your brain to be, or like to your muscle memory, they make sense to be used with bigger vocal tract size. So that's the challenge that you have to fight against. Old habits will tend to be also problematic, and you'll have to fight against them a little bit until it becomes second nature. Okay? So best of luck with that. You're very welcome. I hope it helps you out well. Everyone, please give a big round of applause to Spectral. Good job. Okay, now up on stage, I want someone who wants to masculinize their voices. What is fem? What is masc anyways? Okay, slaying dragons. Please come up on stage. Come on, come on, come on. Left side, right side. Give a big round of applause to slaying dragons. All right. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Let's get started. We got a timer starting now. Okay. Hi, slaying dragons. What a name. Do you really slay dragons? That's impressive. I could never. I mean, look, what am I going to do with these muscles, right? I'm not going to slay a whole lot. Maybe with magic. Who knows? Anyways, that was my mic arm. That's scary. Okay. Anyways, timer started. Let me know a little bit. First time in this workshop, are you familiar with theory a little bit or not at all?
I've been to a few of them and I've tried to work on it, but this is this is my default voice, and so I'm trying to work on just bringing it down and making sure that I can stay a bit more consistent without turning into the monotone. But
Gotcha,
I've
gotcha.
kind of hit a I don't know where to go, because there's some days where I'm talking just like, ah, fuck, I hate this.
Okay, I see. Yeah, generally speaking, when it comes to masc voices, it's hard not to get stuck into monotony. Maybe it's because society makes it so that most masc voices tend to not show emotions, and I don't know, maybe it's a social construct thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not really related to testosterone, but like, if you are trying to achieve a more masc voice and you increase the size, get a bigger lower larynx, and you try to achieve like a slower vibration rate of the vocal folds, you tend to kind of like be locked out, like, you know, quickly. Like you can't achieve like super low pitches at first, and so it can feel like you're always monotonous, like I speak all the time at the same pitch because, you know, like I guess that's how masc voice sounds. And I guess it's always difficult to talk about gender in voice because we always clash back to what society expects of voices to be. So, I mean, like, would you
still consider this masc voice? You know, even if I have like a really, I guess, colorful intonation, you know?
like, it's like showman kind of. You wouldn't expect, you know, your uncle at dinner to talk like that, like. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm also just tired of being clocked female immediately, even when I'm trying to do it.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's try to get you to the best spot you can be at. First of all, I want you to show me what your range sounds like. I want to know what I'm working with. Give me a slide from your highest pitch
Down to your lowest pitch.
I have to do weird stages to get to as low as I
Interesting.
can.
Yeah, no, I heard.
I don't do singing. I don't do any of this. This is literally just
No, it's
trying
okay.
to learn.
It's the first time I hear someone going for like scales like instead of like a like like just a slide, you know. I didn't know that's what comes more naturally, but I guess everyone is different in that context. Okay, but you did go quite low. Let's try again. I want you to try maybe a slide. Okay, let's do this. Call and response.
Mhm.
Match my voice here. Ah,
Uh,
ah.
uh,
Great. Ah. Yes. Ah. Oh, great. Let's keep going. Oh. Okay, we're at G3 now. Okay. Ooh. Okay, now do the slide that you did at start again. Oh. Ooh, E3. Very good, very good. Oh. Can you hold that pitch? Oh.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
Oh. It kind of slides up. Careful.
This is where I can go.
Yeah. Ooh, that's an E3. Very good. That's a very promising pitch to have. But be careful because ooh, you kind of
Yeah.
let it go back.
I hear ya.
I wonder if it's because it's trying to go back to like higher fem voice, you know, like to behavior and muscle memory, or if it's more like you're trying to sustain that pitch and it's like you maybe try to go louder, so like you put more intensity and you inadvertently make it vibrate faster, so it
It's
goes like
probably
higher.
because I'm not actively thinking about it, because unless I actively think, it's hard to keep it down, because I am new
That's
to all
fair.
this.
A lot of people who first started, you know, using their voices and they've never done any singing prior to this, they tend to like struggle to hold pitches in a stable manner. So typically people will like do ah and kind of like let it drop a little bit because it's kind of like the normal direction of a sentence. Like, I'll have a cup of coffee, please. You know, you kind of like start high and you resolve lower. At least in the case of mask voices, that's more the case. Like,
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
right? Maybe in your case, because you are more used to more feminine sounding intonations, so something more like, I'll have a cup of coffee, please. You know, instead of, I'll have a cup of coffee, please. Like, it's not as direct, it's more like, well, intonated, colorful, and putting more emotion into it. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. Mask voice or fem voice, by the way. I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
So, okay. Practicing sustaining pitches for a long time can help you, you know, like be more stable with those pitches and have like a more stable foundation to work on. So that's something that you should definitely consider if you have not tried it yet. But that aside, it also helps you with, you know, knowing what your range is at, right? Like, for example, do pitches like A, B, C, D, E, F, G make sense to you? Like, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's completely off key. It's okay, but you get the idea. Like, steps
In concept,
between
I used to be in
pitches.
band, but
So you
I
do
didn't
know
go in
about
choir.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You do know the theory behind it, right? So you know like the difference between a C3 and a C4, like an octave difference, right?
Yeah.
So you were in a band. Maybe you didn't play the piano, maybe guitar, bass, drum. Which one
I
did you
played the
play?
saxophone.
Oh, hell yeah. You gotta get that breath control. Heck yeah, that's awesome. I know I had like a student who played saxophone and oh, she had like such insane breath control. She could like go for ages holding a pitch. Anyways, so As you can see here, these are common socially gendered ranges. Why? Because depending on where you are in the world and how gender is constructed where you are, these ranges might be very different. You are around here. So it's a very good pitch. Like, it's very much far on the fem range, but it's already like dipping into masc territory, at least for most English cultures. So da 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 da. That's an E3, okay? Now let's try to talk a little bit with that pitch, shall we? All right. Let's get some sentences. Great. Okay. Can you try this? First sentence with E3. Can you match my pitch?
Oh.
Yeah. Hello,
Okay.
good morning. How are you?
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Very good. Careful here. So you started like, hello. And here you went more like, hello, good morning, how are you? So still on E3. No, but like the pitch is the same, right? But like your Adam's apple went back up. Hello, good morning, hello. You can try to like yawn, like,
Hello, good morning. I just woke up.
try that out.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, that's a lot more consistently dark.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Great. Oh.
And I was at F3, sorry, it's slightly higher, not that much, just a semitone, so it's not bad. Now let's try to do a more normal intonation. Let's try a higher pitch. Can you match my pitch here? Hello. Okay, so here you're like, hello. Let's try to make that high pitch a lot darker. Hello.
How would you go about darkening?
I would go about darkening using whisper exercises. In the case of feminization, we try to achieve a brighter whisper as it makes the Adam's apple go up and thus makes a smaller space, so a lot brighter sounds. You know, think like trumpets are smaller than saxophones, right? And you like will notice how a trumpet sounds a lot brighter and the saxophone sounds like darker, right? A trumpet might sound like a saxophone might sound more like I don't know, trumpet sounds, right?
So basically pulling it further down.
Yeah, you're creating more space, and it thus like makes the lower frequencies in your voice a lot more intense, right? It emphasizes them more, just like they would in a smaller or bigger instrument. So you're trying to make your instrument bigger. We have the power to modify the width or the size of the instrument. So let's try this. I want you to give me a really bright hello, like hello, on a whisper.
I gotta turn down
Probably
the
not coming.
threshold.
Yep. Please turn off noise suppression as well. Might be in vrchat. And the threshold all the way down to 0%.
All right.
Yep, perfect. All right, try this. Really bright hello.
Hello.
And let's try to make that darker.
Hello.
Careful not to engage your voice back. Hello. Try to just stay in the whisper. You can also use your hand, put it on your neck, and feel for the difference between the bright hello and the dark hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay, I can feel that.
Hello. Wait, did you just do... Can you do it again? Hello.
Hello.
You just went, you just achieved this pitch now. So like you're on D3. So you just achieved the lower pitch by accident. Great, good news. So yeah, once you achieve that,
Hello.
where were we? Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
So I went back up. Hello, good morning. Let's try this. Hello, good
Hello.
morning.
Hello,
good
good
morning.
morning.
Hello, good morning. Da, 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 da,
Hello,
da.
good morning.
Okay, E3. Da, 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 da. Okay, very good. The intonation is right, but hello, good morning. So we end up darker and more masc, but we start a little bit too bright at that high pitch. It's to be expected. You're used to doing high pitches with a smaller space, right? So you want to make it bigger. That's why we use the whispers. We don't have the context of pitch. We only hear how big the vocal tract is. Small, big. So, hello.
Hello.
On the whisper, try it. Yeah, the thing is you're getting back into phonation, so your vocal folds are closing back in, and you're not really listening for the whisper like that. No, I know, I know you're trying your best. It's okay, it's okay. You could try like a sound like pat that cat. Yeah, like that. It's like a dark sigh.
So if I do this, this is closer to what I need to do.
Like it's something like more hollow, yeah. And then you want to like keep that same hollow sound, but go up in pitch. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, careful. So you're like doing like hello, 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 hello. You're like bringing it slightly brighter.
Hello, hello.
See, hello, 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 hello. You want to show like this operatic singing. Hello, big space.
Hello.
Yeah, not quite. It's okay. With practice, it will come. It's easier for
Yeah.
you to achieve like a darker sound at lower pitches, as you've noticed, but you shouldn't neglect higher pitches either, because they're what gets you away from monotony. Either you go like, hello, good morning, how are you, on a D free, for example, but then you sound really monotonous, like a robot. So you could like use higher pitches like A3, A3. It can be both masculine like this, A3, hello, or feminine, hello, right? This is why the vocal tract size is going to play such a huge part in how you're gendered. And so once you practice reaching higher pitches with a bigger size, you can then do hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Like the size is big. Hello, good morning. Instead of hello, good morning, which is more what you're doing. Like you're shining bright, you go lower in pitch, but you also go darker, which is what we want. But you want to be dark from the get-go. Okay?
Okay.
So using whispers.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I like to hear. Okay, great. So yeah, I hope that helped you out slaying dragons.
Yeah, so
hope to see you
basically just
around.
kind of work
Yeah.
on darkening the entire range of my vocal cord instead of just focusing on lower.
Lower pitches are good, don't get me wrong. Like you went like E3, D3, and of course like
The most masculine voices like can go like down to F2 and like lower pitches like that, right?
but it's not necessary, right? Like
You can have like a really low masc voice. You can have like a higher pitched masc voice. You can have like a really high pitched masc voice, right?
there's also like the vocal tract size that's gonna matter. And there's going to be the vocal fold mass, right? Whether you're like really soft, like hello, good morning, or
Hello, good morning.
having more vocal fold mass is also a good tell of having a more of like a more masculine leaning voice, right? That part might be more difficult because it's tied into how much effective mass is being engaged. If you don't have like a lot of testosterone exposure, it might be harder at first, but not impossible. You can work on achieving thicker sounds, practicing buzziness, you know? Yeah, muscling up the voice. So that's like another thing we haven't fully touched on, but for now, focus on trying to get your whole range dark. And yeah, that would already like be a huge part of the work. And then you could start to go, I mean, like, you can start now as well to like try to go for like a heavier voice
Either at like low pitches.
or even at higher pitches. you started training like that extra vocal fold mass that you want. Okay?
Yep, sounds like a plan.
All right. Everyone give a big round of applause to Slaying Dragons. Okay, last but not least. Oof, I'm not on time today. Excuse me. I want someone who wants to feminize their voices last on stage. All right. Neldia V. Come up on stage. Come on, come on. Everyone give a big round of applause to Neldia. Oh, wow. Hi. Oh, hello. You're a small cookie cat. Hello. Oh, are you muted? Perhaps? Do you have technical difficulties? Oh no. Oh no. Is it just me? No? Well, that's embarrassing. What now, Nelia? Do you wanna? Yeah, okay. Wanna give your spot to someone else? Okay. Sorry, enough time. Hopefully it works. All right, who else wants to get a Snowy Winter? Come up on stage. Come on, come on, come on. Big round of applause to Snowy Winter. Hello, hello. Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello. All right, I got the timer running. All right, let's go. Hi, Snowy Winter. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome on stage. Have you already been in one of those workshops before?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so pray tell, what do you want to work on today?
More feminizing or refining.
Okay, sounds good. So, sorry, I cut you off. Let me know.
You're good.
Okay, so you want to work on more feminizing? Is there something else you wanted to add? Like, if you have been around for a little bit, you probably already know about, voice theory, about vocal fold mass, about all these things, right?
For the most part, yeah.
That's very good. Awesome. So now let us try to see where your voice sits at. I want you to give a read to those sentences, please. Give it a try.
Oh, okay. Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Beautiful. Great. Hello. Good morning. How are you? Shooting up like that. That's great. Awesome. Try the second one.
I'll have a...
Oh,
Sorry.
whoop. It's okay. I hear roommates, I suppose.
My partner is right next to me.
Oh, no.
Uh,
It's okay.
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Very good. Awesome. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. You have to be very nitpicky here. Maybe there was a little bit too much mass here, so I'll have a cup of coffee, please. So maybe like the please could have been a little bit softer. Try it again. Thinking of softening the please from please to please. Give it a try.
Okay. I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
That's very good. Awesome. Try the next one.
I forgot my hormones. My bad.
Oh no!
I
Again.
stuttered.
It's okay, it's okay. You want to try it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot my hormones. Oh, I forgot to take my hormones.
Okay, very good. It's okay. A very role play. I've got to hormones. Not again. Okay, very good, very good. How about the next one?
Are you really sure about that?
Totally sure. Sounds really fun to me. Next one.
I think I have a craving for pickles.
Okay, very good. Same nitpick here. I think I have a craving for pickles. See, it's like a very slight difference. Listen closely. I think I have a craving for pickles. I think I have a craving for pickles. See the difference between those two? One sounds a little bit buzzier, very slightly though. Like that's why I'm saying I'm nitpicky. Like you're not like, I think I have a craving for pickles. You're not that buzzy, but you're sometimes leaning on that buzzier end, right? Either your voice can be too soft, I think I have a craving for pickles, or it can be too buzzy, I think I have a craving for pickles, or it can be right in the middle, I think I have a craving for pickles. You're kind of like, I think I have a craving for pickles. You're tipping a little bit on the slightly buzzier end, which is not bad, but it's something that you want to be careful with, especially when you go to lower pitches, because that vocal fold mass being a little bit heavier can then trigger like, I think I have a craving for pickles, like heavier vocal fold mass, and thus like a very masc sounding buzzy low pitch. Not something we haven't encountered yet, though. Try the next one.
I totally agree with that.
Beautiful, but careful. This time it happened even more. I totally agree with. Sounded great, very soft. I totally agree with that. Not as buzzy, but like a little bit leaning there. So let's try to do that. Literally, the word that a few times in different iterations. Let's try this. Really thick on purpose. Like, let's make this cartoonish thick. That. Awesome. Now I tried to make it softer. Actually, as soft as possible. Like, it's probably like, imagine like you're laying in bed at night and you're like, bed voice, kind of like really, really gentle. Hey, shh. That. Really, really quiet. Not a whisper. That. Yeah, close to that one. That. Exactly. You're trying not to be noisy at all. Awesome. Now, between that and that, there is a lot of possibilities, right? That. Right? We can be in the middle, or we could be anywhere here. Just generally, we're going to want to be more in like that middle part, either middle slightly buzzy or middle slightly light. Okay? So let's try this from really quiet. That. Careful, you're using a lot of air. That. Try to use less air. Like you're not blowing. You're blowing a very slow, gentle string of air. That. Much better. Let's try to go a little bit louder from that, but very slowly. We don't want to go that. We want to go that. Try that. That. Very good. And from here, that. I totally agree with that.
I totally agree with that.
Very good. Okay, now your voice is a lot softer. Okay, try this again at a higher pitch. I totally agree with that.
I totally agree with that.
Careful. I totally agree with. You went low in pitch. That, like heavier. I totally agree with that. So is it the trail off at the end of the sentence that causes you to go thicker? Perhaps. Let's try to go slower. I totally agree with that.
I totally agree with that.
That's better. Try even slower. Agree with that.
Agree with that.
Wow, super soft. Agree with that. See, once you take the time, it's easier for you to fix the small little mistakes. Not a mistake, really, just a divergence towards thicker sounds, but you get it, you know? You can be thick on purpose if you want to be thick. I totally agree with that. Heck yeah. Cartoon characters. Lovely. I love them. Okay, so I totally agree with that. Try the whole sentence.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, now this time I totally agree with that. Now it wasn't so much that the sound was thick, but more so that you had creak. I totally agree with that. Creak is not bad. It's a sound I use a lot, for example. I totally agree with that. I think creak adds a lot of texture. Oh, are you still here? Oh. Oh, you just put your hands down, probably.
Water.
Okay, thanks.
That might have been the other part.
Very good water. Love the water. Okay, I totally agree with that. Okay, so we fixed that by going slower and by trying to aim for softer, less air voices. Like literally, if you have a thicker sound, it's also because you have a lot more air to back it up. If you reduce how much air you push, you also reduce the chances of having a thicker voice, of having a buzzier voice. I totally agree with that. Try it again.
I totally agree with that.
That's beautiful. Awesome. All right. So your takeaway should be to watch out for vocal fold mass. It's not bad by default, but it's bad when you don't control it, when it kind of, happens out of your control. You don't want to sound like, I think I have a craving for pickles, like a thicker sound in the middle of the sentence. Generally, you might want to be more careful with like the end of the sentences or for sounds that could be challenging. I'm not sure if I totally agree with that was triggered by going down in pitch or if it was triggered because the sound that can be a bit difficult to produce. Why? Because when you do that, you have your tongue and you put your teeth on your tongue. And so it's a sound that will kind of create a resistance at the level of your mouth, right? That, right? And so with that resistance, you might feel like you need to push more air. And thus, I totally agree with that. That's another possibility for why your voice could break a little bit. And I think that's about it. Certain sounds like going very far or growing apart. The P sound is a plosive. There is a buildup of air. Another opportunity for your voice to break. I'm just thinking of like future issues you could encounter for you to pay attention to. So any sound that kind of like cuts or interrupts or makes the production of sound a bit more difficult can be something that could create that increase in vocal fold mass. So that's something for you to watch out for. Okay? Other than that, I'd say you have a really, really solid baseline. I mean, like, it's pretty much there. It's just going to be about polishing, making sure not to let your voice drop or making sure not to let your voice go too thick outside of your control. So that vocal fold mass is a choice, not something that is imposed on you. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Well, I hope that helps you out. I wish you well. And please, everyone give a big round of applause to Snowy Winter. Okay.
No, I'm
Well,
not.
that will be the last person for today, I'm afraid. So, I'll be taking questions from Twitter. What? From Twitch or Discord. Rory, do we have any people who have asked questions on either platform? They're not harder to achieve. You always have to consider your starting point. Breaking down your voice is the most important part. You gotta know where you start to know where you want to go, or at least to know how you want to get there. Imagine if I have like
A really masculine, really thick and heavy voice, for example, right? Really heavy, really thick. Then if I want to achieve a softer voice, I'd have to like reduce the vocal fold mass a lot. Like and going for like already softer masculine voice and then like move up the pitch a little bit and then like brighten the resonance a little bit. Supposing that it is
fem voice that you want to achieve that's soft. You could also want to achieve like a masc voice that's really soft. So the considerations here with fem voices, with soft voices, regardless of gender, is going to be how much air you push, how much air you provide to your voice. If you provide a lot of air, two things can happen. Either you have a really breathy voice, and then you sound out of breath all the time, or worse, your voice dries out really quickly, so you can like get fatigue faster and damage over fatigue if you keep using that. Or you can end up having a really thick voice because your vocal folds adapt to how much air you're pushing. And generally, to have softer voices, you're going to want to use less air. I keep saying the word use because I don't want people to like stop breathing altogether. And it's not about blocking the air either, because if you like think, okay, I have to reduce the airflow, but you like clench the vocal folds to reduce that airflow, it's not going to work. It's going to be about breath control. Literally, yoga exercises are really good for that. A thing I like to do is I'll take like a metronome, have it like at 60 BPM, so 1 tick per second, and I'll do these like breathing exercises, like breathing in for 5 seconds, breathing out for 5 seconds, breathing in for 10 seconds, breathing out for 10 seconds. And the longer I can go, the slower my rate of air gets. So if you want to achieve really soft voices, I recommend you practice trying to breathe out for long periods of times, as this will force you to learn to manage your airflow and thus help you in the long run with achieving a softer voice. Hope that answers your question. Do we have other questions, Rory? Reduce creak. Actually, reducing creak is okay. Creak is already a quiet sound by default. I mean, you could always go for like a but creak is never a really loud sound unless you're like doing harsh metal vocals, like you're probably not gonna like use creak to be loud. It's actually the opposite way. If you have creak, it's because you're using too little air, but your vocal folds are too closed, right? So like my vocal folds are closing, and then I push air through them. They vibrate normally. But if I reduce the amount of air, what you're going to hear is like the few bubbles of air that manage to pass through the vocal folds. So to actually achieve a less creaky voice is to either increase the airflow or to open up the vocal folds more to, use or produce a voice that uses less air. For example, if I use like a lot of air, and then I close the vocal folds on those, I'm going to sound really strong, loud, and powerful. But if I use very little air, I'm going to sound really quiet and really soft and really gentle, right? In the case of creak, it's too little air with too much closure. So if I open the vocal folds more, and I get like a really soft voice, right? Because I'm using like very little amount of air. I'm not trying to increase the air, just opening the vocal folds more so that they vibrate more normally. Or I can keep the creak and push more air to support that closure that I have chosen, right? So these are the ways to go about this. All right. So I hope that answers your question with creak. Actually, before I move on to the next question, here's like a very simple diagram of the vocal folds. So the vocal folds, they generally open and close a few hundred times per second, depending on what pitch you're using. But typically creak is the end where your vocals are more closed. And so you can try to move towards a breathier sound, so like I'm already on a balanced sound, right? I could also go further and do the full slide, the full closure gradient. So right? So you can do those gradients to practice opening and closing the vocal folds, managing your airflow as you do. And yeah, I hope that answers the question a bit more in detail. All right. Do we got more questions? Okay. Okay. They're generally like a methodological like difference to like, I mean, like creak and fry, we are using those terms to describe a perceptual quality, right? The sound. Some might say it's due to like going extremely low in pitch. Some might say it's due to closing the vocal folds more. But at the end of the day, you just get the sound. So I use those terms interchangeably. Fry, creak, fry, creak. They're generally the same. Although you might hear people from like a singing background call vocal fry like really low pitches, like ah, right? The fry that would happen from not being able to achieve lower pitches with a full voice, for example. But, you know, that's why I generally try to use creak to avoid the confusion with pitch. Creak can happen anywhere, right? You can have creak at really low pitches. Right? So to me, it's really like closure, if anything. So yeah, you can use them interchangeably. I use creak. Use whatever words you prefer. Okay. All of them are important. Short answer. And I mean, pitch is still going to be important. Like, I mean, like you could say this is a masc voice. Like it has like a really big size, but it's really high in pitch. But most masc voices won't tend to sound that hollow, right? Even if I increase the vocal folds mass a lot, it's, you know, hard to gender it as masc voice, right? Because we expect most masc voices to have like at least somewhat of a lower leaning pitch, right? So, you know, all of them are going to matter in their own way. It's the sum of all these things that matters at the end. Kermit the Frog. You didn't even finish typing, I saw it. So yeah. Kermit the Frog, yeah. Kermit the Frog is like one of the examples where you have like a really high pitch, but just like a lower resonance. The extra part with Kermit the Frog is that you bring the root of your tongue back. It's like you bring your tongue back in your mouth. And like it makes you sound like this, like you have a potato in your throat. The Germans call this Nodel in opera singing because there's a food in Germany called the Nodel, and it's like a little ball of potato. So you have that at the back of your mouth. It sounds like you have like a potato in the back of your mouth. So yeah, I guess it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that's a technique called nodal in singing. I could refer it to a scientific name like the tongue root retraction, the laryngopharyngeal narrowing, but just call it nodal or the Kermit voice. That's easier. Okay. I hope I answered all of your questions. So no, they're all equal to the same level. I would say it's not that pitch doesn't matter. It's just that resonance and vocal tract size is just heavily overlooked in most methodologies online. So that's really like, we try to shift the focus more to this because it's the thing that people work on the least. And like you're taught early on what scales and pitch and music is, but you're never taught about how big your vocal tract can be, how big or small your vocal tract can be. So I know the focus seems like it's always a lot on the vocal tract size, but it doesn't have to be just the vocal tract size, the resonance. Okay, I would be answering questions from the crowd, but we're already quite over time and I don't want to take up Rory's time too much. So thank you so much, Rory, for hosting today. I'll be wrapping up the session. So, hi everyone. It's me. I'm Savvy. I think it's written up here, I guess. Just so you know, I teach and offer private lessons and public lessons over on my Discord server called Scientifically Augmented Voice. So if you're interested in booking a lesson with me, for example, you can always shoot me a DM in Discord at savvy_sav, all in small letters, or you can hop into my Discord server. You can reach my Discord server by clicking my bio on my name. And I do public lessons over there from time to time, so you can join into those Discord calls, stay muted, ask questions in text chat, learn some more, or you can submit clips of your voice to my community. We like to help each other out with our voices. So yeah, if you want to learn more about voice, you can do so over at my place. Other than that, of course, we still have the wonderful voice team. So this is going to be Jessa and me, but we also have like a lot of people in the hashtag voice training Discord channel already in the academy. So you can always ask extra. I can't speak today. You can always ask extra questions over there as well. I'm tired, aren't I? So I'm going to wrap it up. Hey everyone, my name is Savvy. I teach voice feminization and
Voice masculinization.
I also teach stuff such as human beatboxing, such as sounds, such as this is hard. My headset is really warm. I also teach human beatboxing with sounds such as I teach voice acting, I guess, and singing sometimes. So if you want to learn any things related to voice, hit me up in Discord. All right, y'all have a great time, a great rest of your day and weekend. I'll be catching you all, as per usual, on the next Sunday. Y'all have a great one, and I'll see you later. Bye!